remaining. Okay, let's first, we do have a little short consent list of basically bills that are exactly the same as Senate bills we've already jammed out. And so let's go to well, actually, we want to pull one of these off. Okay, House Bill 773 per Alexis, we're going to pull out of the consent calendar because it has. Oh, hold on. Alexis advised me there's some differences between. Okay, we just don't want to have it on the consent calendar, so we can still take it up separately. Okay, so we've got 756, 891, and 975 are in the same exact posture as these Senate bills that we've already passed out. Yeah, this is voting list number 54, which is called a consent list, meaning the House bills that are on the list are exactly the same as the bills that we've already passed. Were they all unanimous bills?
In this committee, yes.
Yeah, so in this committee, all these bills passed unanimously out of this committee, these three. So anybody beyond 773, which is slightly different. Anybody want to make a motion just on those three bills? Okay, Senator Augustine moves favorable. And a second from Senator Kagan. Any questions on those three bills excluding 773? Okay, all in favor of the favorable motion, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. With respect to 773, I have a note that there's a request that we simply conform this bill to the Senate bill from Senator Gazzoni that's already passed. So is there a reason we can't simply do that on HB 773?
So it's a policy call. I'll just explain what the issue is on this one. So
Why don't we hold on, because this was on a consent calendar. I don't want to, it's not like a priority bill. So let's, okay, why don't you do that? Tell us the difference between 773 and 597.
Okay, so.
And this will have to go back to the budget, over to the Budget and Tax Committee chaired by Gazzoni. So just
right.
For what it's worth.
Pull something up really quick. Okay, so HB 773 is a cross-file to SB 597, Human Services, Individuals with Disabilities, and Service Disabled Veterans Voting Fund. So this bill established the Service Disabled Veterans Voting Fund for the purpose of funding nonprofits that work within the Chesapeake Bay for kayaking, canoeing, and other opportunities for service disabled veterans. So in the Senate, we removed the discretionary appropriation. So sorry. As we passed the Senate version, we had a discretionary appropriation of $500,000 to be allocated to the fund. In the House, the Senate bill was amended to strike that discretionary appropriation language. Now the House bill before us still has that discretionary appropriation of $500,000. So the question is whether we will maintain this discretionary appropriation or remove this discretionary appropriation. And if we so what we would have to do is we would have to amend the House version to remove the discretionary appropriation. So that's the question before the House bill that we have before us today, removing the $500,000 discretionary appropriation, which would conform the two versions.
Wait, yeah, I'm not sure. Let's slow this down because it's a little, yeah. Senator Augustine, we want to clarify this a little bit here.
Okay, so the Senate has a position on the bill,
right,
which we sent over,
right, and we will probably get that back to concur this week because it's on second reader.
Right, but it says they amended it, which means they changed it off of the Senate version.
Right, exactly.
But all right, but the sponsor here has said pass it in the Senate posture. That's what the chair said.
Can I just, I don't like to do this up, but John, you had some conversations with Senator Gazzoni. It's not a bill hearing. I just would like to know, Chair Gazzoni, it's his bill. This is actually jointly assigned, or it's going to be second over in B&T. Do you have you communicated with Senator Gazzoni about what he wants to do with this crossfile?
Yes, sir.
What do we like to do?
Delegate Jones would agree to concur with the amendments to conform it to the Senate bill as it came to this, as it passed third reader.
As it passed out of the,
$100,000 in it, it's delayed a full year, and it's discretionary.
So I say move to conform to the Senate bill. That's what he just said.
right, is that, okay,
Senate bill as it passed third reader or the Senate bill as it was amended in the House?
As it
That's the
passed third
question.
reader in the Senate,
That's our
Which
bill.
would
That's
have
our bill.
the discretionary appropriation attached to it.
with the $500,000.
Correct, the discretionary.
okay, so we're
appropriation.
basically just conforming it to the bill
This-
that we
that we
passed out of the
passed.
Senate.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's really just to cut to the chase, okay?
Thank you.
So would you like to,
Made that motion.
yeah, so we're just gonna, that'll be the motion. We have a little ambiguity on Senator Guzzi's position on this. Why don't let's hold this until we get, yeah, let's hold this until we just firm that up. Okay, so that'll take care of list 54. And go over to list 55. There's one local Montgomery Prince George's bill, House Bill 1024. Alexis, why don't you tell the committee what that bill does?
House Bill 1024, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission Connection Pipe Emergency Replacement Loan Program Expansion. This local bill modifies the purpose and eligibility requirements of the Connection Pipe Emergency Replacement Loan Program in the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, WSSC. Under the bill, the maximum loan that may be made under the program is raised from $5,000 to $10,000. The bill also raises the total amount of loans outstanding from $1 million to $2 million. The bill requires an increase in WSSC's budget for the program from $100,000 to $200,000 through 2034, and ultimately extends the program's length from termination in 2029 to termination through 2034. We have both local letters from Prince George's County and Montgomery County.
Yeah, favorable motion from Senator Augustine, second from Senator Kagan on this local bi-county bill, House Bill 1024. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, motion carries. Before I go to the next list, I have a reminder. I've been advised to tell everybody that our committee will be undergoing a phase 2 of the AV refresh project, upgrade the committee hearing room AV infrastructure. So therefore, it's important the last few days of session, you clean out your desks in the hearing rooms, so to facilitate the process. So please make certain that all paper, books, and personal items are removed before leaving. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Everybody got that?
It says that it's not just food, it's like pens and.
Everything.
paper clips, all the things.
Yes, so you can begin that process today. And let's go now to list 53 because Senate bills take priority over House bills. And we've got 4 Senate bills on voting list 53. And Alexis, why don't we start with Senate Bill 445? We've got 4 bills here on this list, okay?
All right, Senate Bill 445, Maryland Department of Health 211, Maryland Oversight. This bill is a cross file of House Bill 353, which is also listed on list 52. They are not identical, so we may want to entertain an amendment on this one. Senate Bill 445 modifies the definition of Health and Human Services Referral System to mean a coordinated system for health and human service resources accessible to all residents through 211. The bill repeals the requirements that Maryland Department of Health, in consultation with 211 Maryland, evaluate performance of each 211 call center and make recommendations on quality of service. Now, I'll kind of jump to the House bill in the event we want to make an amendment. The House bill notes in uncodified language that HB 353, that it's the intent of the General Assembly that the 211 Maryland Board include 2 representatives of 211 Maryland call centers nominated by 211 Maryland call centers. And that will be added as intent language and would conform the 2 bills together.
Okay,
Move favorable to the amendments, the House version.
okay, so you want to amend
the
Senate Bill 445 to look like 353. Is that your
Mhm.
motion?
Mhm.
Okay, is there a second on that? Any second? Second from Senator Hester. Okay, so the motion is SB 445, an amendment that will make it look like House Bill 353. Okay. Sure, Senator Augustine.
This is, I mean, we talked to the sponsor, this is all good. I'm just checking. Yep, awesome, great.
Okay, all in favor of that amendment, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Now we have SB 445 and House Bill 353 in the same posture, so this next motion can apply to both. Senator Augustine moves favorable 445 as amended and 353 in its current form. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Vice Chair Kagan. Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 445 as amended, as well as 353 in its current posture, raise your hand. All opposed, those two bills carry. Let's go down to Senate Bill 1090. And Stacy, and we've got the crossfile on the other list.
Indeed we do.
1167.
Senate Bill 1090, cross-file to House Bill 1167. Maryland Center for School Safety, statewide secure schools emergency response program established. This bill establishes the statewide secure schools emergency response program in the Maryland Center for School Safety. The program must procure and implement an emergency communication platform in every public school through which all school faculty and staff are able to alert a public safety answering point to report a life-threatening or emergency situation. By September 1, 2026, the center must ensure that the program has been implemented in every public school in the state. For fiscal 2026, the governor must include in the budget bill an appropriation of $4.5 million for this program. There are one set of amendments offered by the sponsor, Senator Waldstreicher, and these amendments will conform it to House Bill 1167 as passed by the House. And what that does is establish a secure schools emergency response grant program in the center. The purpose of the program is to provide grants to local school systems to improve emergency notification systems and communication between public elementary and secondary school personnel, a public safety answering point, and a public safety answering agency during emergency events. Local school systems that apply for and receive grants must receive the funds to improve emergency notification systems or enhance communications within the school and with public safety agencies. By September 1, 2026, the center must ensure that the program is operating and available to each local school board. The governor may include, instead of shall, an appropriation in the annual budget bill for the program.
Yeah, one other thing I would add on this one, although the funding is discretionary, I did talk to some folks who said that there is some federal money available. In fact, our former friend of ours, Tom Perez, is now working in DC. There is some federal money available that could also be has a possible way into this fund once we create it through this legislation. So I don't know if anybody questions on these two bills. We've got Senate Bill 1090 and the cross-file House Bill 1167. Any questions? Yes, Senator Hester.
So I've been working with the Center for School Safety for 2 years now on trying to get more money into there's 3 existing funds. So does this create a 4th? And does it take any money from any of those other funds?
I mean, we did talk to them. I mean, they're kind of welcoming this opportunity.
They are welcoming it.
Yeah. So we have Frederica here actually personally talked to the woman who runs the. Yeah, they originally were unfavorable for absent these amendments, and now they're, set this up for us.
They did like a whole study on like systems that use a panic button, and so there's nothing in here anymore that requires us to use a technology with a panic button, right?
Well, why don't we do this, since we did at least get a representation from them? I'd like to maybe move it through, and then if you want to reach out, do you know what's her name?
Is Kate
Katie?
Hessian?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to
I'll
give
reach out
her
to
a
her.
call before
Okay.
we do anything on the floor.
Thank you.
Just so you can confirm that what I just said. Okay, that said, we have an amendment that would conform it to the 1167, correct, Stacey?
Correct.
Where we're at, okay. Does anybody want to move that amendment?
I will.
Okay, Vice Chair Kagan, is there a second? Okay, Senator Lewis Young, okay, this is an amendment to put in the same posture as 1167. Okay, all in favor of that amendment, raise your hand. All opposed, that amendment carries. Okay, is there a favorable motion from the vice chair and a second from Senator Augustine? Okay, again, this will count for SB 1090 as well as 1167. They're in the same posture. All in favor of those two bills, raise your hand. All opposed, those two bills carry, but understanding Senator Hester, you'll reach out to Katie and just make sure she's good with these bills in their current form. Let's go to Senate Bill 1174 and from Senator McCray.
Senate Bill 1174, Baltimore Regional Water Authority Governance Work Group established. We do not have House Bill 1509, which was the crossfile before us. That bill is in rules still. This bill establishes the Baltimore Regional Water Governance Model Work Group to review and analyze various topics related to regional governance models for water and wastewater in the Baltimore region. The work group is required to hire independent consultants to meet the requirements under the bill. On or before June 30th, 2027, the work group shall report its findings to the Mayor of Baltimore, the County Executive of Baltimore County, the Governor, and the General Assembly. There was one amendment from the sponsor on page 5 of package for voting list number 53. Amendment adds 2 members to the work group and prohibits the work group in developing the report from considering or making recommendations related to a privately operated regional water governance model. The work group must also consult with the Department of the Environment in developing their report.
Any questions for Dara? Yes, yes, Senator Gallion.
Yeah, so what 2 members did it
Oh,
add?
yes, I'm sorry. So if you look at page 5, it would add 1 member who represents the current workforce responsible for the operation and maintenance of the water distribution system, and 1 member from a labor organization that is the exclusive representative for Baltimore City employees.
Okay,
These same changes were made to the House bill.
okay,
Yes.
and this is not technically a local bill since it's a region, but it's just Baltimore City and County, it looks like.
Yep.
So is it true that with the House amendment, the work group may not consider or make recommendations related to a privately operated regional water governance model?
That is correct, and that is the amendment before you as well, says the same.
Okay.
And I will say that the county executive of Shefsky's, kind of weighed in saying this bill is important for at least his county, but with that said, Senator
Yeah.
Washington.
Yes, and again, the first group, they did it last year, and so they needed more time. The House amendments, I agree with. The difference, ensuring that it's privately operated. The bill had said just privately privately owned. All the data shows that when entities are privately owned and operated, that there are a number of negative impacts on ratepayers. So to have something similar to what we have, the Washington sanitary area, it is a quasi-governmental entity, that should be something they can consider.
Okay, so we've got 1 amendment in front of us on Senate Bill 1174. Does anybody want to move that amendment? Senator Washington moves that amendment. Is there a second? Second from Senator Lewis Young. All in favor of that amendment to 1174 from Senator McCray, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. We've got Senate Bill 1174 as amended in front of us. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Senator Washington, second, Senator Lewis Young, all in favor? Sure, absolutely.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Have-
Senator Washington.
I mean,
Senator
yeah, it's
Augustine,
okay.
Senator
gonna-
Augustine.
I'm just gonna ask the same question that I asked on the other bill. Is the Senate sponsor good with that? Do we know?
I think the amendment's
Pardon?
his amendment.
The amendments,
Shared it with him at the event, but I haven't.
the amendment before you is from the Senate sponsor.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, my
Yep.
mind is all over. I just.
Yes, it
making
says
sure.
McCray.
Okay, thank you.
No, we're getting late in session. Yeah, it is sponsor, the amendment is from Senator McCray. Okay, further questions, discussion? We had a motion favorable and the bill is amended. And a second. Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 1174 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, we have 1 nay, Senator Gallion. Motion carries nonetheless. Okay, we'll next go to the last bill on this list, Senate Bill 1183. And then the cross file is House Bill 1358 from Senator Carter and Delegate Ruff. We're going to go to Dara.
Thank you. Senate Bill 1183, Natural Resources, Establishment of Gwynn Falls State Park. Senate Bill 1183 requires the Department of Natural Resources to establish Gwynn Falls State Park as a partnership park between the department and Baltimore City that seeks to provide visitors with accessible outdoor nature-based recreation and learning opportunities. The bill adds several related provisions and requirements. There is one amendment from the sponsor. The amendment would remove the requirements regarding establishing the state park. Instead, the department and Baltimore City are required to convene focus group meetings on the establishment of the Gwynn Falls State Park with community members and stakeholders that reside or operate in the vicinity of the proposed state park, develop a list of priority needs and associated cost assessments for park operations and improvements as specified, and establish a specified stakeholder advisory committee to advise the department and Baltimore City on the scope and management of the park. I'm just going to stop for a moment and say these amendments in question begin on page 6 of your voting package. Neglected to say that. By December 1st, 2025, the department must submit a report to the General Assembly on property owned by the state in Baltimore City that is suitable for inclusion in a park, property owned by Baltimore City or a nonprofit organization in the city that is suitable for inclusion in the park, and for which the landowners are willing to enter into a partnership agreement. And finally, the funding needed to establish and promote Gwynn Falls State Park.
Okay, any questions? Is that, Dara, just one amendment? I'm sorry.
That's the only amendment. It would conform it to House Bill 1358 in its current posture.
Correct. Okay. Any questions on the amendment? Anyone will move that amendment? Okay, Senator Washington moves the amendment. Senator Augustine second. All in favor of that amendment to Senate Bill 1183 to conform it to 1358, raise your hand. All opposed, that carries. Now have 1183 as amended in front of us, and the same form as House Bill 1358. We'll take one vote, pass or take. Is there a motion? Senator Washington moves favorable on 1183 as amended, and that's also a vote for a motion for House Bill 1358. Second from Senator Augustine. Discussion. All in favor of the bill, these two bills, raise your hand. All opposed. Okay, that carries. Before we go to the voting, the list 52, which is our final voting list, we have some concurrences or potential not concurrences. So let's start with Stacy to walk us through where we some of these bills.
Thank you. Senate Bill 883, Education, Virtual Tutoring Services, Background Checks, and Fingerprinting. If you recall, in general, this bill would require a virtual tutoring service to obtain a criminal history records check for tutors that have remote interactions with students under a provision in the family law article versus the education article. The FBI has weighed in and said they cannot or will not do this. So we vote to not concur is my recommendation.
Okay, we don't be in violation of federal law here with our bills. So motion to not concur, Senator Kagan, second from Senator Augustine. All in favor of the motion to not concur so that bill is not in violation of federal law, raise your hand.
Yes.
All opposed. Motion to not concur carries.
The sponsor is aware and
Stacy,
understands.
back to you.
Senate Bill 33, More Opportunities for Career Focused Students Act of 2024. In general, this bill requires county boards of education to take specified actions to keep students informed of employment and skills training opportunities through specified entities. The House amendments strike provisions regarding the use of a specified college and career readiness platform and payment for certain career-related examinations. I've also spoken with the sponsor. He's fine with these amendments. The recommendation would be to concur.
Move to concur.
Okay, Senator Carrozza, question.
Because this is, I like this bill as far as I understand what they're trying to do, but I'm not sure what the amendment does and how that affects what the locals do.
So the amendments, there is a provision in the bill as passed by the Senate that would have required a local school system, if they use this specific platform to match students with various career opportunities and whatnot, for post-secondary education opportunities. They also had to do it for career-related opportunities. And if a local school system paid for taking, for example, an AP exam, they would also have to take for apprentice type exams or other career licensure related exams. The House struck those amendments. They said it was, very expensive. And yes,
So the House struck the amendments on paying for some of these apprenticeship tests.
right, the platform provisions and the payment for these types of exams provisions, yes.
But kept what, so they're not going to pay for the test, but they're still going to,
They have to provide notice to students about various apprentice level opportunities through various entities.
and part of that was just, they thought it was cost prohibitive because of those. They
That
didn't
was my
like-
understanding, yes.
I mean, it's a fiscal note issue.
My understanding is that was part of
Because
it.
there is a
yes.
fairness issue here too. If they're paying for the one and not paying for the other.
Again, that's a policy decision of this body.
So to keep it moving, you want us to concur, but we might take a look at this. It's just to me a fairness issue for these students, so.
And, just because we move to concur, obviously that takes the bill, out to the floor. I mean, the people can ask questions,
Okay.
ultimately before okay, so, there was a motion to concur? I can't recall. Sarah Augustine, was there a second from the vice chair?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to concur? Raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. What's next, Stacy?
SB 250, County Public Libraries, Overdue Library Materials, Minors. In general, SB 250 prohibits a county public library from charging a fine for overdue library materials borrowed by a minor. The House amendments expand on this basic prohibition by adding different types of fines and fees and specifying which materials certain fees may not be charged for minors not returning materials under specified circumstances. So they added a bunch of different, like what was it called? A refund fee or a hold fee if a person calls in and they say, could you hold this book? And then they don't come and get it. After a certain amount of time, apparently some libraries in Western Maryland were charging fees for that. That's prohibited under the bill. Certain materials, for example, if the material is for a minor or a tween, then they cannot charge a fee for a late return. So they checked with the department and the department was fine with those changes. So it's up to this committee whether you like those changes or not.
Anybody weigh in? It's up to the committee.
SB 250?
So we don't have a recommendation from council here. We just have to either concur or not concur.
The department was fine with it, so the recommendation would be to concur.
Okay, since everybody seems a little, I'll go with the department on this. Yeah,
Right.
I'm just gonna go with the department. Okay, a motion to concur from Sarah Augustine. Is there a second?
I just have a question.
Okay,
I'm
we
happy
do-
to, I'm happy to special it, to second it for
get
it-
me to
Okay,
the
yeah,
conversation.
yeah. That's fine. Go on.
Stacy, you said for a period of time. Is there a period of time that the young person has to get the materials that have been reserved for them?
That
'Cause I'm in
provision
the bill.
was only in Western Maryland. That would be the only library affected by that particular provision. But what it said is, let's see here.
It says, for failure to return library materials by the end of the loan. Okay, I'm sorry. Nope, wait, hold on. That have not been returned at the time the fee is issued. That's the replacement fee. Some of this is totally familiar. We've heard,
Right, most.
I think I'm in the wrong version.
Right, you
actually.
can't see it because it's,
Yep.
the amendments have not been incorporated into the bill yet because it has.
Reserve fee. No, I'm in the
Right, yeah.
reprint. Reserve fee means any amount charged by a public library to an individual for failure to collect library materials that have been placed on hold or reserved. So I reserve stuff all the time at my library. I'm not a minor, but sometimes you're on vacation or you're finishing 3 other books or what if someone's sick or something? It doesn't say how long that could be.
Why don't we do this, guys? Because I want to get through.
Any amount charged.
Why don't we, what's the bill number, Stacy?
SB 250?
250.
Okay, we're gonna take this up next time we meet. Let's just hold this. And House Bill 250, don't you guys yourselves with this, and then we'll take up this motion to concur, not concur next time.
Okay.
Why don't you keep going?
Last one, Senate Bill 1042, Education, Armed Services, Vocational Aptitude Battery, Student Information. In general, SB 1042 requires each public school that administers the ASVAB to notify students and their parents or guardians 2 weeks before administering the ASVAB of the option to withhold the release of a student's personal information and ASVAB test scores to military recruiters. The House amendments provide that the bill may not be construed to prohibit a county board from choosing option 8 for all students in the county. So essentially, the county board would be able to choose the option to not release the information instead of the students individually making that choice themselves.
Okay, is there a recommendation?
I have no recommendation on this change.
Okay,
More privacy seems like a better idea.
okay, sure.
So, does the Maryland Military Department, this is an important bill to them. Do we know if they have a position? If that,
I did not have an opportunity to weigh in, but currently this just says it may not be construed. So in general, the authority exists for the counties to make this choice. This seems to be just additional language that clarifies.
it does, okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay, what are we gonna do? Anybody gonna make a motion, one way or the other? Sure.
Clarifying, Stacy, which way is it that that the county can protect the personal information of young people rather than each young person being required to do it themselves?
So in taking the test, each person could choose, given the option to choose how to release their own information, or the county can just select an option for all students in that county. This language basically says this cannot be construed that a county can't do that. That's what it says.
And that's the House version?
That's the House version.
I move that we conform to the House.
Now we're just concurring. Yes.
Concurring.
Concur, thank you.
To concur, is there a second? Second from Senator Lewis Young, all in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Let's go to you, Dara. You have a couple, I think, straightforward ones.
Yes, but before I get into this, I've been talking with Senator Washington's staff in relation to SB 1174. I do apologize. I'm noticing that Senator Washington had sent an alteration to the amendment that we voted on for SB 1174. What was voted had said that the work group could not consider or make recommendations related to a privately operated regional water governance model. Senator Washington has an amendment to expand that to owned, operated, or managed.
I also think there might be a problem with that because the original bill had privately owned as well. So I think that there's
I'm
just
not
something wrong.
Seeing that in the language of
No, the
the
original, okay. Anyway, there seems to be problems with the amendment. So what it is that this number 2, I don't know if we have to reverse the thing, but we'd have to separate out
Or you could
request to.
work on this and bring it to the
I'm
floor,
hap-
or, I mean, we're running, okay, I mean, I'll defer to you. What do you want to do? You want to, because when you start, when I see you
Well-
pulling out the pen and handwriting,
No,
it's
no,
a
no,
little.
no, it's just
nervous.
that this, I think number 2 of the amendment. So if we can pass, in other words, everything is good with the McCray amendment, except I actually think number 2 of the McCray amendment is not what the bill sponsor wanted, and certainly is not what I would want to vote. So it's, yeah. So is there a way to vote just
Sure,
that so it can
but-
go to the floor? Then we can figure out if, then they could make an amendment on the floor.
Yeah, well,
like-
I mean, I think
I
Senator
don't
Augustine
stop
asked the
it.
question about the sponsor, and we've
Right.
represented that it was Senator McCray's
It-
amendment, so
It is, no, it is his.
it is.
Right,
And
no, I get
it
that.
conforms to the amendment that was made to the House bill, which is when I spoke to Senator McCray was his request,
Right.
Okay,
I
so-
know
which just says operated.
Okay, so the
Right.
bottom line is, what Sarah Washington is proposing is
something. that-
consistent with what Senator McCray's intent was. Is that what you're saying?
It
Or-
would add, rather than just saying privately operated, it would say privately owned, operated, or managed.
Okay, and that's consistent with Senator McCray's intent was, is what I
Right.
just want to make it be clear here.
I believe that's Senator
think
Washington's
we need to talk-
understanding of our conversations with.
Yeah, I think I need to clarify because I absolutely know that I do not believe it would be in the intent to sell the Baltimore City County water system.
Okay, well, that's
And
why,
yet I just feel like the amendment, even his amendment in that particular section.
okay, what I just don't want to do is, what I am suggesting is, at this point, and on Friday, some of these adjustments can be a poison pill running out of time.
Exactly.
And so what I am saying is, why don't you powwow with Senator McCray?
Yep,
And
yep.
you guys, if it needs some tweaking language, we can call it technical in nature on the floor or
Okay,
whatever.
great.
You know, it just seems simpler than us try to come back another time to get it right, or even now verbally. And I just would prefer.
No, I this is what I'm asking.
What?
Are you able, this is procedural. This is an amendment and it has different parts of the amendment. Can parts of the amendment be separated out and voted separately? That's all I'm saying. And then if there needs to be an amendment on the floor, and I'll defer for just this last line, because I honestly do not believe that the last line is correct. And so we've been talking to the bill drafter, and they are concerned that they didn't get
Okay,
it right.
well, you're going to be the floor leader on this bill, so you can, when you go to the floor to present this bill, you and Corey McCray and the
All right, we'll just let it
bill
go.
writer, and you can represent that there's a committee amendment that sort of corrects some technical problems at the
Very
committee.
good.
That's what I'm
Happy to do
saying.
it.
Okay?
However,
Okay, so we don't go back. Let's go back to you, Dara, on just
Yep.
the, what you have in the calendar.
So we have a number of concurrences. First of all is Senate Bill 290, the Certified Local Farm and Fish Program Annual Waiver Reports or alterations. This bill altered certain report and record submission deadlines relating to the Certified Local Farm and Fish Program. The House amendments alter the deadline for the Office of the Certified Local Farm and Fish Program to submit a certain report to the Board of Public Works from December 31st to October 31st. This is a departmental bill and the department has agreed to this change, so the recommendation would be to concur.
Move to concur.
Got a motion to concur from the vice chair, second from Senator Augustine. All in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Dara, you got one more?
Yep, two more. One more. Next is Senate Bill 1074, Agriculture Food Processing Residuals Utilization Permit Establishment. This bill establishes a food processing residuals utilization permit. The House amendments conform the bill to the cross-file House Bill 991. Again, the recommendation is to concur.
Okay, we've got a motion to concur from the vice chair, second from the Senate President Pro Tem. All in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that carries. Dara, your last one?
The last one is House Bill 152. The House has refused to concur with the Senate's amendments. This is the, I apologize. This is the Deaf Care Study Group.
Okay, so we want to move not to concur on
Yeah.
that one and go to a conference committee. So the recommendation here would be move to not concur and go to,
A
you
conference
want to make a
committee, yeah.
motion?
Her.
Okay, is there a second? Second from Senator Lewis Young. All in favor of the motion to not concur, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Dara, let's go to you. Alexis, how many do you have? Oh, okay,
2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we'll start with Senate Bill 818, Information Technology, Artificial Intelligence Policies and Procedures, Artificial Intelligence Governance Act of 2024. Broadly, generally the bill broadens responsibilities related to governance and use of artificial intelligence by state agencies and units. As amended in the House, the amendment number, if you all want to pull it up, is SB 818-253-2281. The bill is modified, or the bill modifies the definition of high-risk artificial intelligence to be artificial intelligence that is a risk as determined by the Department of Information Technology through regulations. It requires the Office of Attorney General, the State Treasurer, and the Comptroller to adopt functionally compatible artificial intelligence-related policies, similar to those that are established under the bill for all state agencies, and they have to adopt these policies by June 1st, 2025. The bill requires public senior higher education institutions and Baltimore City Community College to develop functionally compatible policies, but fully exempts artificial intelligence for research or academic purposes. And those policies, those higher education related policies have to be adopted by June 1, 2025, as well as a report has to be submitted by these higher education institutions. The bill delays the timelines for an impact assessment to be conducted by the relevant departments. It requires DO-IT to consult with the governor's artificial intelligence subcabinet in adopting policies and procedures related to artificial intelligence. It adds requirements of policies and procedures to be adopted by the department, and requires policies be publicly posted on a state unit's website within 45 days, modifies proof of procurement provisions by striking the exemption from that would have authorized Board of Public Works oversight, removes language that would have established that the intent of the Maryland, this is uncodified language we added at the end, that would have established that it was the intent of the General Assembly that DO-IT evaluate the potential of artificial intelligence and creating a statewide virtual 311 portal. Then establishes alternative intent, that it is the intent of the General Assembly that the governor's artificial intelligence subcabinet consult with the Technology Advisory Commission contingent on passage of Senate Bill 955. Sounds like, and please correct if I'm wrong, that the Senate sponsor is in agreement with these changes. So my
Okay.
recommendation would be to concur.
Okay, Senator Hester.
Yes. Although I wasn't, did you say they took out the 311 thing?
They did.
I was not aware of that, Madam Vice Chair.
What happened?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all good. Getting used to it.
Okay,
I,
what do you want to do?
It's all good. It's fine.
I say we
So
we write a letter and ask him to work on it. I don't know. I mean, we've been back and forth so many times and it's like the 88th day of session.
Really important day.
Yeah,
This is a really important bill.
so I would move to concur.
Okay, we've got a motion to concur.
I think we should send a message.
Second from Sarah Augustine.
We mean send a message like send a,
All good.
If you don't like
Let's
it,
just talk,
that's-
no,
you
no,
still
no,
want
let's
the
just
bill.
talk, we'll talk offline. Let's talk offline. Let's just get this bill through.
Okay, we have a motion to concur and a second. All in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. All opposed. How long are these other ones? There's a couple of bills in here. I really,
we can kind of, I think, go through the other
okay,
ones relatively fast.
okay.
So
we're-
that one for next. Okay, so Senate Bill 532, Commission to Advance Lithium Ion Battery Safety in Maryland, establishes the commission, as I mentioned, to be staffed by the Office of the State Fire Marshal. Sorry, another concurrence motion. Pardon me if that wasn't clear. So the motion to concur is on the following amendment, which adds a representative of the vehicle propulsion battery manufacturer industry, one representative of the grid scale battery energy storage industry, and requires the commission to adopt specific regulations required to utility application fires.
we've got a motion to concur in a second. All in favor, motion concur, raise your hand. Yes,
Could we move the House bill that's identical?
That is on the list.
okay, which number is that?
House Bill 468?
Oh, actually, it hasn't made it on the list. You would have to conform the two with those additions that we just concurred with.
Is that
Okay.
possible?
Anything's
I'd
possible.
like to make that motion.
Okay, we got a motion to conform to
House
the
Bill
House Bill to what we did. Okay, everybody understand that? What's the House Bill again? Just from
House Bill 468.
468.
okay, it's not on the list, but okay, yeah, okay.
So is this on a voting list or the concurrence list?
It would be added to a voting.
Okay.
Thank you.
You just make that right. 468. Okay, so can we take a separate vote on 468 then? Is that what would be appropriate here? Okay, House, you want to move the bill and that's okay, all in favor of doing what we just talked about, raise your hand. It's getting a little late. Okay. Okay, yes. What?
If we have a bill that has amendments recommended by the department, just because I know with amendments, just to keep things moving, wanted to ask if that could be considered.
On which bill?
House Bill 613.
Okay, well, we're not, that's a separate bill. I mean, I don't want to jump too much.
Okay, I
There's a
just was
couple other
concerned because
bills.
I knew there was
Okay.
amendments
Why
that
don't
the
we-
department wanted.
Let's hold off on the concurrences a little bit. I want to go back, if you could hold, how many more do you have?
I think 3.
How quick are they?
Super quick.
Okay,
SB 1107, generally the bill required a study on the establishment of a homeless shelter licensing program. Simply in the House, the Senate version was amended to add a report to ENT and EEE.
okay. Any motion?
Washington, your bill. I'm sorry. Okay, yes, your bill.
And this would be on the reporting requirement on that study within DHCD to be publicly accessible and
Yes.
sent to EEE and ENT.
Yes,
Wait, sent to us rather
What?
than posted on the website?
It will be sent, so it's because what happens is it's posted on the library's website and then it's sent to the chair typically, so both things would happen, be an email and published online in the library's website.
It's not on the list.
which bill? Okay, I'm
It's a
sorry.
concurrence,
Concurrences, we gotta
Okay,
say,
uh,
yeah.
SB 1107, which is.
Oh, there it is. Yes,
Yeah.
okay. So I have it here. I know I have it. Okay, so it's a concurrence on this, and then the difference is that.
So the Senate amendments, we'll
Right.
touch on the House bill on this separate list, but the Senate bill, just looking at what they did in the House, was they added a report to EEE and to ENT.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Got it. Yep.
Okay, we're going to move to concur. Senator Washington,
Yes. we will
Second.
concur.
Senator Augustine, all in favor of the motion to concur, raise your hand. The motion carries.
Senate Bill
Alexis?
448, this bill has passed the Senate, required Veterans Affairs to conduct a study on African-American Civil War soldiers. We did consider this earlier in the week. The only issue is the House refused to concur in what we did in terms of setting up a conference committee. So the question centers on whether we want to maintain a study as we passed or allow the bill to revert back to a commission as originally introduced. And it looks like the House is leaning towards the commission.
I spoke with the Senate sponsor and he understood and he wanted to, I talked to him afterward and explained that we have a commission on African American and that it could fit under it. And he agreed that that's what it should do. Yeah. And so it could be a task force or a study. It doesn't need to be a separate commission. So I would keep what we,
Already have a conference committee on this?
So they didn't.
They
appoint
wouldn't
conference,
take it.
So it stalled.
Refused the conference.
Okay, so there is no conference committee. We appointed, they chose not to. So, okay, so what are we doing? What do we need to do?
So if
We're
we
just at an impasse?
concur with the House, we will have a commission. If we refuse to concur, then it goes likely to conference or the bill dies.
Well, it's not going to go.
And did they take I'm sorry, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
did they take the one or might be more than one piece?
So on this one, they did not take, they took out the one or more.
That's not the sponsor's preference?
Well.
So if they're not deferring, and if we felt strongly, and the backup plan is that it could be done through the commission that exists already.
Can we ask the sponsor?
Please. We're gonna be in tomorrow. Let's hold off on this. Let's
We
put
should
this.
check with him.
Yeah.
That's
let's
all I'm
check.
saying.
Exactly. So we got a few things. We're not gonna work that much. We're not gonna do much voting tomorrow, but we have a little, if we don't get through this list here, we can, come back half hour before session or something tomorrow to kind of go through this final list.
Advance notice.
Well, there was
Advance notice.
advance notice last
yes,
night.
yes.
Yes, so,
Yeah.
okay, let's just go. Is there any
I
more?
have one more.
Okay, one more from Alexis, and I want to knock out a couple
All
bills
right,
on
so
this
Senate
list.
Bill 296, which extended the State Board of Land Surveyors for 3 years through 2027 and required a one-time report by July 1, 2025. The motion to concur from the House is on the following amendment, which repeals the sunset and requires a report every 4 years, beginning on July 1st, 2025.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Senator Hester is busy and she's been really leading the way on this. So I'm going to try to talk long enough so that Senator Hester is available
Yeah.
to. I see that, so that Senator Hester can engage on this bill because she's really been the leader on this issue. So the issue that we are on, it seems to me that Senate Bill 296, Senator Hester, that we ought to do the same thing on this bill as we have done on these other bills where the House has proposed eliminating a sunset and we have thought that was a bad idea. Thank you
Okay.
for.
What's the motion?
We can concur and go to conference.
So.
Okay, we're,
would
okay,
you-
okay, we're moving, we're moving not to concur, okay? Okay, so is there a motion not to concur from
Sorry, Katie.
Senator Hester, second from,
Move to not concur.
yeah, move not to
Conferees.
concur is, yes, and we'll appoint some conferees when we're done.
Same group.
Okay, everybody in favor of the motion not to concur, raise your hand, we can go back at this. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Alexis. Let's go to the list. Let's start with House Bill 495, a local Baltimore County delegation bill, and we're going to go to you, Stacy. Baltimore County delegation 495.
Let's see here. House Bill 495, Education, Baltimore County School Board Nominating Commission, Publishing and Meeting Requirements. This bill requires that before the Baltimore County School Board Nominating Commission begins interviewing candidates for the appointment to the Baltimore County Board of Education, the commission must publish the names of all candidates on the commission's website. The bill also requires that a commission meeting must be open to the public if it involves action on a candidate for appointment to the county board. However, a commission meeting that involves an interview of or a deliberation about a candidate for appointment to the county board must be held without the public in attendance and must be recorded. The commission must provide a copy of a meeting recording for public inspection within 48 hours after receiving a request for recording. There are no amendments. There was no opposition and the local letter has been received.
Okay, is there a motion on this local Baltimore County bill?
Move favorable.
Favorable motion from Sarah Augustine, second from Vice Chair Kagan. All in favor, House Bill 495, clean, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. Let's go to the back of the list here. And Stacy, I know we did just get back. We got House Bill 1426, the blueprint alterations. And there has to, second is from B&T.
Right, so B&T just put on a couple amendments to this, and that's what I'm going to describe. They accepted all of this committee's amendments, which were, reinstating the pre-kindergarten grant expansion provisions to add a cross-reference regarding high-quality staff credential requirements and altering the date for the annual appropriations for the grant. It reinstated the Senate version language authorizing MSDE and the AIB to limit certain dual enrollment courses. The B&T amendments strikes provisions providing that, this was the other one, providing that county boards rather than the state board must make certain determinations related to the career ladder. And the B&T corrections were it's striking various cross-reference corrections relating to school funding provisions that were added by the House for review at a later date. There was some concern that there might be implications that weren't otherwise known. So otherwise B&T was favorable.
Question,
Senator Caruso.
just to clarify, that was the B&T amendment allowed for locals to have more flexibility. Is that what I picked up? And
Those were the EEE amendments.
did
They
B&T
accepted the EEE amendments
Right.
and then added a couple things, which
Did
was
they-
the striking.
and
of
did
the-
they add additional flexibility?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to take up those additional, I'm sorry.
Yes, you have to approve the B&T
Okay.
additions.
Who wants to move the
Move the
B&T
B&T
amendments?
amendments.
Okay, Senator Augustine moves the B&T amendments, second from Vice Chair Kagan. All in favor of those B&T amendments, raise your hand. All opposed, those amendments carry. Got back in front of us House Bill 1426 with those additional amendments we need to take a vote on.
Okay, move the bill as amended.
Senator Augustine
1426.
favorable as amended, Vice Chair Kagan second. All in favor, House Bill 1426 is amended. Raise your hand. All opposed. Okay, that bill carries. Senator Luciano, your light's on. Oh, okay.
Ask a question about one of the B&T amendments. Did I understand correctly that B&T took away the career ladder authority from local boards of ed and put it back at the state level?
Understand is EEE did that.
Oh. Did that?
The concern was there was an amendment made in the House thinking that was a correction when in fact that was not a correction and it was restored to its actual intent under the blueprint as originally passed in 2020.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any additional points? Okay, let's go to 1393. We've held Delegate Crosby's bill a few times. We need to address this one way or the other. So Alexis, why don't we go to you on House Bill 1393?
House Bill 1393, Electric System Planning, Scope and Funding. This bill modifies provisions related to electric distribution system planning, establishing the Climate Solutions Now Act by broadening the scope of state policy goals beyond electric distribution system to include transmission and generation related planning. It broadens references to federal funds available for electric company use to include Federal Inflation Reduction Act funds, and requires the PSC to require electric companies to take actions related to infrastructure and reporting, including requiring investments in demand side technology. In our voting packet on page 10, there is an amendment sponsored by the chair, which would delay from July 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, the date by which the Public Service Commission is required to adopt regulations related to electric system planning and infrastructure.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, Senator Augustine moves those amendments. Is there a second? Vice Chair Kagan? Okay, all in favor of those amendments, raise your hand. All opposed? Amendment carries. We've got 1393 as amended for us. Sure.
This bill sounds a little familiar to what we've talked about in other bills, but I see there's no Senate cross file. Is that right?
Right, we did have we had a hearing over here from Delegate Crosby, but yeah.
So could you give us your kind of expert chair bottom line on this bill?
Well, I'm just trying to refresh my memory on some of the things, you know, first of all, yeah.
It just says electric systems planning. And
I mean, I think the basic point of the bill, and Alexis, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just kind of looking through my own notes back. Everybody cares about protecting ratepayers. Is about ratepayer protection, reliability, hundreds of lots of money. There's, I think, millions of dollars of federal money. I think it was the reference to the Inflation Reduction Act. So part of the intent here, as I recall, is to try to position ourselves to access a lot of IRA money. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a lot of policy positive aspects of the bill. I'm just trying to, again, refer. It's been a while since we had this.
So there, I was looking at the committee testimony. It looked like there was a lot of favorable with amendments, and I don't know if.
Let's see. Yeah.
The cost effectiveness, is that in there?
Don't recall who would have offered that one. I don't think the House specifically and explicitly.
It was in probably trying to deal with what the other folks have done. It was actually in Vice Chair Crosby's it was in his testimony, his written testimony.
In EEE.
Yes.
Let me double check on that. I see him as favorable, so I didn't make note of amendments. So no, we can possibly adopt it conceptually though.
Yeah, exactly.
Page would
or you know what we can also do is do it as a floor amendment. I mean, I think that we already moved the bill, right?
No, actually, we moved the amendment. The amendment's on the bill. I think this is a pretty significant bill for a lot of, a lot of reasons. So, I mean, my preference would be, again,
Get it together.
move it, but then let's have a conversation by the time we get to the floor with some
Yeah.
modifications, starting with the one you just described, and then everybody else can educate themselves about I think some of the many positive aspects of this piece of legislation. So that would be my recommendation.
Yes, sir.
So you want to move the bill as amended, 1393?
Yeah, I do. But did we, so,
We adopted it.
because there was no amendment or we
There was
already
one
adopted
amendment.
it?
Yeah, we had
Did we
one.
adopt
We
it?
had one.
adopted the
And we
delay
adopted it?
amendment.
Oh, the
Yep,
delay
the
amendment, I did do that.
delay
I'm
of the
sorry. Yeah.
regulations
So move
amendment.
the bill as amended.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we've got 1393 is amended before us. And a motion has been made. Is there a second from the vice chair? Okay, all in favor, 1393 is amended, raise your hand. All opposed, that bill carries. Okay, we've got 2 red votes on Gallion and Simon Air are 2. So the bill carries 8-2 with 1 excused. Let's go back to the front. There's a Dorchester County bill that's been around here, a local bill 594 for a while, and I think the opposition's been removed on that. So why don't we go to you, back to you, Alexis, on 594.
For legal advertisement or legal notice in Dorchester County, publication in newspaper or newspaper in general circulation, digital newspapers. This House bill requires legal advertisements or legal notices to be published and distributed through print and digital format. If there's not qualified print and digital publication available, the notice may be placed in a digital publication that can be accessed through Dorchester County. And we do have a local letter for the local bill.
Favorable vote? Yes, Vice Chair Kagan.
I just want to say that I have spent more time on this local bill than you can imagine. And one of the challenges is trying to support local governments who are trying to reduce their costs, but also protecting freedom of the press and making sure that they have an outlet and all stuff. And I think this strikes a balance. So I want to commend Senator Mouts and Delegate Hutchinson and Rebecca Snyder for working together to come up with something that can work. So proud to support this bill and move favorable.
Okay, with favorable motion, Vice Chair, second from Senator Augustine. There were no amendments, right?
No.
Yeah, okay, all in favor, 594, raise your hand. All opposed, 594 carries. Let's go back to the back page. There's a bill that's a cross file, I believe it was Senator Augustine bill, so House Bill 899. Well, let's take that one up, Stacy, House Bill 899.
House Bill 899, Higher Education, Firefighters and EMS Recruitment and Retention Scholarship. This bill alters the Charles W. Riley Firefighter and Ambulance Rescue Squad Member Scholarship by authorizing individuals who enroll in courses rather than programs to receive the award, expanding the scholarship to include graduate courses at 50% of the equivalent annual tuition, requiring initial awards to be provided to scholarship recipients on a first-come, first-served basis, giving preference to students majoring in service technology, emergency medical technology, fire service management, or public safety administration in the distribution of the first $400,000 of scholarship awards, specifying that any student financial aid other than a student loan must be credited to the recipient's tuition before the calculation of any award provided through the scholarship, and authorizing recipients enrolled in a course at a community college to hold the award for as long as they continue to meet all qualifications for the scholarship. There is one amendment on page 8 of your packet offered by Senator Augustine, the cross-file sponsor. These amendments strike all that, and they put the bill in the same posture as SB 691 as passed by the Senate, and this would in fact conform HB 899 and SB 691 as passed by the House.
Senator Augustine,
Yeah.
you want to move the
I do.
Augustine
I move the
amendment? Okay, a second from Senator Carrozza. All in favor of the Augustine amendment on 899, raise your hand. All opposed, that motion carries. 899 as amended has been moved favorable. Second from Senator Gallion. All in favor of House Bill 899 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed, that bill carries. Let's go down to House Bill 1511 from Delegate Love and Dara. I know you put some work into some.
We are still waiting on amendments to this, Mr. Chair. We're gonna have to hold this.
Okay, let's go then back to the front. Let's start at the top at HB 75. we'll go to about 4:15 here and then we'll break. And then just folks, there's very few bills left on the list. What I might propose is whatever time we come back tomorrow, we can come back maybe a half hour before session starts, and whatever else is on this list shouldn't take very long. We'll vote what's on this list, for half hour before session. We apparently are definitely coming back tomorrow. Ross, can you confirm? Okay, well, he said that today. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, 45 minutes. We'll come back and whatever's left on this list. This will be the only thing. Yeah.
It affects veterans, so that's the only reason I was pushing to do this one while we're here.
Okay, well, which bill?
HB 613.
Okay, let's go to House Bill 613 then. That's fine. I mean, I don't. Delegate
Yes.
Boyce's bill. Okay, Dara, yes, it's House Bill 613.
House Bill 613, Natural Resources and Recreational Catching of Oysters or Clams Requirements. This bill modifies and repeals existing provisions in relation to the capture of oysters and clams. Bill also establishes a recreational oyster license fee available only to residents required to harvest oysters in the tidal waters of the state. There is a $10 application fee, a portion of which is to be used to replenish public fishery oyster bars. There is one amendment from Senator Carrozza. The amendment requires the Department of Natural Resources to issue complimentary or discounted recreational oyster licenses to prisoners of war, unemployable veterans, 100% service-connected disabled veterans, and blind people. The amendment also requires the department to issue a discounted license to Purple Heart recipients with a discounted fee. Lastly, the amendment authorizes individuals who own or lease properties bordering tidal waters and their immediate family to catch oysters without a recreational oyster license, provided the individual registers with the department. There is no fee for registering. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
The department working on the amendments, and they heard our concerns earlier. These exceptions for veterans are in other licenses, so we wanted to make it consistent with this license.
You've talked to the sponsor? I'm sorry.
Yes, Delegate Boyce, Vice Chair Boyce, I spoke to her and she is fine with it, and I believe you have as well.
Okay, do you want to move the Carrozza amendment? Okay, the Carrozza amendment has been offered favorable. Is there a second? Second from Senator Simon Ayer. We've got motion. All in favor of the Carrozza amendment, raise your hand. All opposed. The Carrozza amendment carries. We now have House Bill 613 as amended before us. Is there a motion from Senator Carrozza? Okay, 613 has been moved favorable by Senator Carrozza. Is there a second from Senator? We need a second. Senator Gallion. All in favor 613 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries. How are we looking on time there, Russ? What time can we keep rolling? Okay, let's keep rolling. Let's go to HB 75 next. Let's go to HB 70.
All right, HB 75, Higher Education, Teacher Development and Retention Program Alterations. This bill expands eligibility for Teacher Development and Retention Program educator stipends, a pilot program that terminates on June 30th, 2029, and provides both initial stipends and internship stipends to include an otherwise eligible individual who is initially enrolled in any Maryland community college. The bill also delays the stipend award periods by 1 year. However, a corresponding change is not made to related provisions. Finally, the bill requires the Maryland Higher Education Commission to conduct an evaluation rather than hiring an independent consultant to do so. There are amendments on page 1 of your packet, on page 3 of your packet, pardon me. These amendments, as noted by the fiscal note writer, the changes made in the bill would create some misalignment. Again, the stipends would be offered the first year they were conducting an evaluation. So what these amendments do is correct these issues. They push back the date by 1 year from July 1 to 28 to July 1, 2029. The date by which MHEC must conduct an evaluation on the effectiveness of the program, and a corresponding report date to January 1, 2030. It also pushes back the termination date of the program a year from June 30th, 2030 to June 30th, to June 30th, 2030 from June 30th, 2029. And therefore, people will get their stipends and the program won't end before their last year of their stipend is awarded.
Okay, you said there, I'm sorry, there was an amendment?
That's the
Yeah,
amendment.
that is amendment. Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for Stacy on that amendment? Okay, anybody want to move that amendment?
The amendment.
Okay, we have motion from favorable on the amendment from Sarah Augustine. Second? Second? Losing some steam here, guys. Anybody want to do a second?
Somebody jump out there.
Okay, Sarah Washington. Questions? All in favor of the amendment to House Bill 75 that was described by Stacy Goodman? Raise your hand. All opposed? That amendment carries.
Move the bill as amended.
Okay, got a motion on House Bill 75 as amended. Second from Senator Carozza. The first was from Sarah Augustine. All in favor of House Bill 75 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries. I want to go down to House Bill 241. Let's just go down the list, see where we can get through it all. Alexis?
All right, House Bill 241, Housing and Community Development, Just Community Designation. This departmental bill authorizes the governor on recommendation of the Secretary of DHCD the designated area as a just community to prioritize state funding to increase racial, economic, and health equity in the state. This is identical to the Senate bill as passed. However, it cannot be placed on a consent calendar because of dissenting votes.
Move favorable.
Okay, this is same as the bill we already passed, Senate Bill 308. A first, motion favorable from Sarah Augustine, second from Sarah Washington. What was the, okay, what was the vote on this one? Committee split. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Let's do a roll call on House Bill 241. Memoria, House Bill 241.
All right. All right, Senator Kagan?
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine?
Yes.
Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion? Senator Gallion, no. Senator Watson?
Yes.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young?
Yeah.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Carozza?
No.
Senator Carozza, no. Senator Hester? Senator Hester abstains. Senator Washington?
Yes.
Senator Washington, yes. And Senator Simoneau? Senator Simoneau abstains. Senator Feldman?
Yes, that bill carries. Okay, House Bill 242, and this has to do with sunset repeals, one of our favorite topics in this committee. House Bill 242, Alexis.
House Bill 242, State Amusement Ride Safety Advisory Board Sunset Repeal. This bill repeals the sunset of the State Amusement Ride Safety Advisory Board and the Department of Labor. There are amendments by the chair on page 4, which would extend the sunset from 2024 to 2007 and will require a report to the Joint Audit and Evaluation Committee by July 1, 2025, which conforms it to the posture of the EEE position on the remainder of the sunsets.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion on the amendment, a second. All in favor of this amendment, maintaining the EEE position on these matters, raise your hand. All opposed, that amendment carries. 242 as amended is in front of us. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Senator Augustine favorable, second Vice Chair Kagan. House Bill 242 as amended. Raise your hand if you support this motion. All opposed. 242 as amended carries. Before we go any further, Senator Hester, you had a chat with the we talked earlier about from the well, why don't you tell us, I'd actually encourage you to go talk about that other bill. Yeah.
So we heard the button bill last year and they did a study on it. And so they were against, sorry?
Yeah, we're gonna go. It was the top, it was no, it was not a concurrence. It was Senate Bill actually 1090 and the cross file was 1167. This is the Walt Stryker bill there. And we, talked about this. Yes, so back to you, Senator Hester, about the
So anyways, it is true that as amended where they're kind of, company and technology agnostic, they are supportive of the bill. However, I have worked with the Center for the Center for School Safety.
Thank you. Sorry.
So I just wanted to say that I've worked with the Center for School Safety for like 2.5 years on trying to get these implementations, recommendations from a couple of the recommendations from a report that they've done, through this committee. And this year I introduced Senate Bill 756. And I feel like it's really important that we take a step back and we look at school safety from like a, you know, a higher level. Because we haven't, since we passed the Safe to Learn Act in 2018, we haven't actually done a review of what our local school systems are doing. And so that was the amendment that I got on, that was in my bill, that I then got on the Senator Corderman's bill. And I talked to them and they'd really like to have the cooperation of the other agencies in conducting this school safety survey. So with the committee's permission, I'm going to have an amendment drafted to offer on the floor to this bill. It's just literally to get 4 or 5 agencies together to look at the physical safety of all of our local school systems. And it's a no cost amendment.
Okay, well, you know, in anticipation of a floor, you know, obviously run this by folks and we, you know, we'll just take it that way. Okay, so thank you for looking into that. Let's just keep going down the list. Let's go down to House Bill 437 until I get the Carol Burnett thing from Ross that we need to leave. Let's just keep rolling. Okay, 437. And Dara, I think this is a cross file of a bill we've
Yes.
already passed.
House Bill 437, this is a cross file of Senate Bill 553. However, there are a number of differences between the two. So there is a bit of a backstory to this. What happened was Chapter 118 of the Act of 2020 made a number of alterations to the Zero Emission Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Council. Chapter 607 of 2021 added the People's Council from the Public Service Commission as a member of the council, but accidentally undid the changes made by Chapter 118 of 2020. So House Bill 437 in its current posture restores these changes that were erroneously made. If you look at the standalone sheet I gave you, there is a table, unfortunately, because the House also codified the council, all of the language in the bill looks like newly drafted language, so it's a bit unclear looking at the bill as to who was added. So just in relation to who's being added by House Bill 437, and you'll be able to see on the right column the comparative changes that were made in Senate Bill 553. Most of the changes are in both. I will add, if we go down to the third row, the House bill added a representative of an automated dismantler and recycler, which the Senate also did. However, the House added additional language that the recycler be one that dismantles, destroys, or recycles zero emission electric vehicles, and that, if applicable, recycles lithium ion batteries. Having spoken with council in the House, the reason this was included was to highlight the fact that there are no lithium ion battery recyclers in Maryland, and to encourage the council and recyclers to consider this issue. Other differences between the two bills are adding one additional representative from the environmental community, increasing from 1 to 2. This is also a change that have been made in Chapter 118 of 2020. Likewise, replacing the Baltimore Electric Vehicle Initiative with a representative from an electric vehicle driver advocacy organization and the member of the Maryland Automobile Dealers Association being replaced with a representative from a new vehicle dealer association. Again, those changes have been made in Chapter 118 of 2020 and were erroneously struck out. The reason those changes were made is because typically in drafting, we tried to specifically avoid naming stakeholders. Also, apparently, it's questionable as to whether the Baltimore Electric Vehicle Initiative really exists anymore. The reason for codifying the bill were for clarity when drafting and considering council legislation to avoid the issues like the ones I've been discussing, and also generally uncodified substantive provisions should be codified if they are to remain in effect for 2 years or more. The council has now been in existence for 13 years. So essentially everything that the House did is restoring what was done by Chapter 118 of 2020, except for adding the language about the recycler, the representative of an automotive dismantler recycler being one that dismantles, destroys, or recycles zero emission electric vehicles, and that, if applicable, recycles lithium ion batteries.
Okay, I will only say that I did get text from the Senate sponsor bill that passed this body, passed unanimously. he was urging us to just conform the House bill to the Senate bill that we already passed, Senator Quarterman, but I'll defer to based on everything you say. Here, why don't we do this? This is apparently, did everybody absorb everything that Dara said? There was a lot there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Why don't we do this? This is the last bill. We actually have to go to the floor. So let's hold this one and let's finish there. And we only have a few bills left on this list. And as I say, with a half hour, 45 minutes, we'll finish up these 4 or 5 other bills before we go to session, maybe tomorrow. And let's leave it there. Okay? And everybody good?